Okay. Okay, looks easy enough. Right. Ah, there you are. Morning, crew. Welcome back to the Andy Mechanic Workshop, episode 10 of the Big Little Off-Road Adventure trailer build. The trailer that's going to be towed behind the little Suzuki Jimny to support Mrs. Mechanic, who's riding a little Honda monkey bike all the way from Cape Reinga down to Bluff, bottom of the South Island, about 4,000 kilometres. We reckon about 2.5 to 3 weeks of ride time. Mainly gravel roads, river crossings, dirt tracks, paper roads we call them here in New Zealand, beaches, you name it. As long as it's not tarmac, she's allowed to go on it. I mean, obviously there's the odd little bit of tarmac she has to ride on, but we're going to do our very best to stay off tarmac as always. Anyway, in the last video, episode 9, the last thing that I did on the trailer, you saw me weld on the wiring harness little brackets all over the trailer, work out the routing for the wiring harness and how we're going to support that and keeping it away from all the moving parts, that kind of thing. Part of the design brief for that was that the fact that we can remove the wiring harness really easily just by cutting a few cable ties and then be able to do any repairs and stuff off the trailer. Work on the bench much easier. You can do a far better job and then put it back on the trailer again. I thought that was a really good idea. So we don't have any wiring going through chassis rails. We don't have it, where it's sort of fitted in situ and you've got to cut wires to get it off. That will not happen. The plan is that it's a completely separate harness and it's not, it's just easy to access basically. Now, from that video, since then, we've done a little bit more work. I've added a few more little bits and pieces to the trailer chassis, some tie-down points for on the ferry, just in case it's a stormy trip, that kind of thing. Make it easy for the lads putting the ropes on and things and chains like they do the trucks, because there's been some pretty bad ferry crossings recently. Some of the ferries have actually broken down. They've been that bad. So, last night we worked until the early hours, hence why I'm looking completely knackered as always, getting the chassis painted. Mrs. Mechanic painted the chassis. She also painted the drawbar, the extender hitch, and she painted her bike rack for the monkey as well. So, without further ado, roll the credits. Used.
Paint something without warning.
Honestly. Okay, are you ready for this? Here it is. Look at that! Didn't she do an amazing job painting that chassis? And we've used the same paint. In fact, what paint is it? Let's look down here, look. It's, you can't see the side of the can. Bugger, hang on, I know what we have got though. We've got a can of thinners in the cupboard. Let's go and find that, and it'll tell us the brand. It's pretty good stuff, to be honest. Oh, right, where are we? Okay, hang on. I think some editing might come along here. Right. Hempel. There we are, look. Black satin paint it is. This is the thinners, but it's made by Hempel. It's pretty good stuff, as long as you made sure you've cleaned up properly. Yes, I know. We should have really cleaned everything up, shouldn't we? It was getting late and we didn't. See the state of my bench? Look at that. I've got all that to scratch off with a blade. Nightmare. Anyway, back to the important stuff. So, we decided last night the only way we could move this chassis around without, affecting the paint, because it was still very wet at the time, was to pop in the actual suspension units again, chuck the wheels on, chuck the jockey wheel on, and then it's easy to roll around. It's quite manageable because it's actually quite heavy, this chassis. It really is. But the suspension units have only been thrown in. The main pins need to be greased up and put back in again. And we've also got a wheel alignment to do on this trailer. There's an adjustment on each of those two pins to adjust the toe. That's the position of the wheel like that. So that's toe in, because there's the front of the trailer down there, look. And if the wheels were to toe out, it would be that way. Now, I like a trailer with a 0 toe. CruiseMaster say, I think, up to 2 degrees, so we're going to go 0. And we'll be setting the wheel alignment on this trailer in this video. But first, we need to pull those pins one at a time, grease them all up, put them back in. We won't do the nut up completely tight because we've got the wheel alignment to do. And there is a grease nipple actually just hiding. Can we see it? Yes, there's one, look. Just down there, little grease nipple. So, very, very good design. The fact that you can actually grease them as well. And they've even put a little hole in the steel plate. Hang on, I'm going this way. You can actually access the grease nipple with your grease gun. So, a little bit of thought has gone on there, CruiseMaster. Well done. I like that. The shocks, again, they've been chucked on because the springs pop out without the shocks in place. And we'll need to apply some thread lock, I imagine, to the shock bolts. Not sure if they're the proper bolts, the final bolts to go in. I think there was another set of bolts in the box which we might be using. We'll see. Okay, so what have we done? All the changes. Yes, at the back we've got these little anchor loops that have been welded on. That was one of the last jobs. So, you know, when it's on the ferry, they can put the chain on there and tie it down nice and safe. We don't want the trailer moving around. And I put another couple on the A-frame at the front. Again, pretty discreet. They're out of the way. They don't affect anything else. Very, very simple to do and very useful in the future. You know, if the trailer was to roll over, they will be really good sort of recovery points to help tip it back onto its wheels again. You know, so very happy with the way things have turned out. The paint finish, it's not fuel tank motorcycle kind of quality, but it came out really, really well. And it's had about 4 coats. First coat, very, very, almost a mist really, just to key the metal. And after that, Mrs. Mechanic went to town. Did a great job. And that's the new jockey wheel. And that's come up really, really well with the brackets. It works excellent. It's super strong. It's a phenomenally big clamp on there that Eiffel Williams make. Big cast clamp. And it gives us more than enough adjustment on height for hitching it onto the back of the Jimny and taking it off and moving it around. It's a lot better than that 90-degree swingy one that we had before. So, there you go. First job then is to get the trailer under the winch on the roof. And then we can winch the trailer up on one corner at the back, get a wheel off, because we've got to take the wheel off to get the pin out. Down there, like you see, the tyre's in the way. Get the wheel off, pull the pin. There should be no load on the arm at that point, so we should be able to, hopefully it'll stay in position because they're a bit of a ball ache to get lined up, in all honesty. But there, yeah, very happy. Very, very, very happy. Right. Back to the bench. So, previously, you saw me and Ben put this suspension kit onto the chassis as like a dry fit. Make sure everything aligned properly. Obviously, at that time, what we didn't do was adhere to any of the sort of specific assembly instructions that CruiseMaster provided. And I've got this sheet here. I don't have the PDF version. I've only got the sheet. But it does give us some information, and we'll be going through that in the video. It gives us stuff like torque settings, camber adjustment. No, you can't adjust camber on this one. That's for the XT and ATX models only. Hinge bolts torque. Jeez. CRS, that's our system, country road system. 190 Newton meters. I think that's the big nut on that spindle that we need to grease up on each of the actual pivot point for the arm, basically. Hinge bolts, okay. What else have we got to do? Shock absorber bolts, CRS2, 50 Newton meters. So remind me later on about that one. Yeah, basically that's all there is. There's just 2 here. Toe-in adjustment. Here we go. Look, single. It is a single. It says on a single axle trailer it should be a 2mm toe-in. I don't like toe-in. Toe-in creates scrub, right? And scrub increases drag, so you use more fuel. That's not a biggie. But it also wears your tires quicker. So I'm going to set it up initially with 0 toe. And obviously, if the trailer doesn't handle particularly well, and we don't know yet, then obviously I can bring it back into the workshop and set some toe. Give it a couple of mil toe as per the instructions. But we're going to go for 0 toe to start off with, because all my other trailers are 0 toe. Okay, well, let's crack on. Let's do what we do best. Oh, nearly got the paint. Right, wheel off the ground. Right, let's take a bit of that load off. I just want the axle stand just to kiss the bracket so it doesn't drop down. So we're loose there. Luckily the paint's dried now. There we go, it's got a little bit of load on it. Cool, we can take the pin out now. Oh, jeez. That's still really tight. Oh. It's got no weight on it, so we should be alright. Oh, there we go. Okay. Perfect. It has not moved. If it had, it'd chop my finger off, wouldn't it? Okay, we need some grease. Now, it says in the instruction sheet to use Castrol LMX grease, which is a lithium-based grease, which is very heavy duty. I haven't got any of that. What I do have is from Vertex Blue Tack Ep.10. It's premium grease and it is designed for high loads. Let's have a look. Here we go. Look, Blue Tack Ep.10 is superior lithium complex multi-purpose grease. It's designed for lubrication of various applications in all types of operating conditions. Well, that pretty much covers what we're going to use it for, particularly where the operating temperature is high. Well, in this case, it's not. In the hubs it would be, but for the spindle, no, that'll stay pretty cool. It's a Trill multi-purpose grease. Okay, let's use that. That will do. And of course, it's in a corking gun, grease gun cartridge, because my other one's already empty. Right. Nice. Looks tasty, doesn't it? So we'll get a bit of that slapped on there. And obviously the main greasing will happen through the grease nipple that I showed you earlier on. But it's always good to put a bit on the actual spindle itself. Just like a motorcycle wheel spindle, you know, it needs that grease there. So we'll give it a little bit of a coating on there. Because who knows, I might have to pull this thing apart on the trail. And a bit of grease on the spindle always helps, doesn't it? Right, there we go, look. It's a nice thin coat. Got the amount just about right there, didn't I? Happy with that. Not on the threads though. We don't want to affect the torque setting of that nut, that lock nut. Okay, right, back to the trailer. Hopefully it's not moved too much since we were doing this. Right, we're going in. We are going in. Way. Okay. Now, I know this is a bit of overkill, but it might do the trick. I've got plenty of leverage on this. Nearly. Ooh. Oh, way too far. Well, that's feeling pretty good. We might be okay at that. Pretty tight fit. Okay, she said. Oh yes, we're in. Look at that. Nice. Now we need to do the same thing at the other side, because what you don't want to do is damage the threads by just hammering it through. Okay, here we go. Right, so now we're going to put the toe adjuster on and the nut. Super job. Now remember, we're not tightening that up proper yet. We need to just nip it up so it holds position, and then we can do the toe adjustment later on. Right, next job is to align this little locking tab into one of these two holes. And given the fact there's not a lot of clearance on the back hole and there's heaps of clearance on the front hole, we're going to move it across to here. So, without destroying the paintwork too much, Mr. Young. A little bit more. Little tiny bit more. Oh, looks pretty good to me. Right. Stainless bolts. Nice. Lovely jubbly. Right, let's nip up that large nut. Oh, we're not quite in with the adjuster. Huh? We are now. That's better. So we'll nip it up and back it off a little bit. Oh, it's so good to be getting this thing finely put together. It's pretty good at this end. Right, let's just back that off a fraction. That'll do for now. Now, next job, we can tighten up that little bolt, the M10 bolt, or 10mm bolt, I don't know what thread it is, probably not metric, that's the little locking tab on the pin. Do they give us a torque setting? Let's find out. I don't know. Bum, 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 towing adjustment, camera adjustment, now, hinge bolt, torque, big nut, 190 Newton meters. They don't give us a torque setting for that particular bolt. So, tight it is then. 17 nut size and a 16 head size. What the hell? M10 should be 17 at both ends. Seems to be an Australia-New Zealand thing. Right, tight. Bit more tight. Click. That'll do. Right, that side is to a point where we can't do any more. I'm going to crack on with the other side, do exactly the same thing, and then we'll be ready to set that toe. Zero toe, by the way, 0 degrees of toe. We can then lock everything off, and then I have some hubs to re-grease or fully grease, set the preload on the bearings, and then, you know, fit a split pin. And then basically all of that side of it is done. Cool. Right. Here's a word from Toolgirl Holly.
Now then, crew, Toolgirl Holly here. Don't miss the next live stream, 8:30 AM Sunday.
Thanks, Holly. See you next time. Right, we're back. Okay, so the other side is done. Spindles greased, blah, blah, blah. All that's done. And I've taken both the hubs off at the same time and made sure there's plenty of grease in the hubs. Set the preload on the taper roller bearings, put a split pin in, put the cover on. Job's a carrot. One more thing that I have done is just put little bags over the wiring for the electric brakes and zip tied those to the arm in the necessary locations. There's some little holes in each of the swing arms, I suppose, trailing arms. Because, cunning plan, this vehicle, this trailer, is going to go for a warrant of fitness on Monday morning in the village. And it's a very light trailer chassis. There's not a lot to it when it hasn't got the pod and the bike rack and stuff on it. So it's well under the 500 kilogram maximum weight for an unbraked trailer behind the Suzuki Jimny, the Generation 4 that we have, the new one. Which means it doesn't have to have brakes. It also doesn't have to have a handbrake. What it won't have is all the wiring for the lighting and the electric brakes when it goes Monday morning. I'm just going to put a trailer light board on the back with the number plate in the correct place and take it for a warrant. So basically the guy is only going to be inspecting a brand new chassis, brand new wheel bearings for play, brand new bushes on the suspension system, and of course the condition of the hitch. And there really is nothing, touch wood, that will give him any reason to fail that trailer, because I just need to get it through, get the ticket, get it back home into the workshop, and then we can start to finish everything we need to do. I've got to make the wiring harness, that kind of stuff. So I just don't want any kind of, oh, you know what, these electric brakes are a little bit on the harsh side, I'm not happy with that, you know, fail. Or, the bike rack sticks out a bit, that could kill somebody. Yes, I don't think it will actually, but anyway, you know what I mean? You know, there's a lot of rules around, do you like that impression, did you? A lot of rules around warrant of fitness on trailers, and a lot of those rules are open to interpretation. Common sense doesn't always come into it with every single inspector, unfortunately. So I don't want a battle on my hands. Give him the least possible chance for failing the trailer, and then we should have the best possible chance of getting what we need. Be smart, you know? Okay, so all that's left to do now is to set the wheel alignment, which is quite important. Otherwise the trailer might try to overtake you. And also torque up the shock absorber bolts. And I was correct, there are some brand new shock bolts just over there, which have got some factory fitted thread lock on them. So we'll be using those and torquing them up to spec. We've also got to tighten up the large spindle nuts once the wheel alignment is set to. Okay, here we go. So a quick and dirty wheel alignment. Now this is going to get the comments going, isn't it? So we've got down here a piece of box section that I'm kicking around the workshop, and you can see there, look, I've put some bolts through the box section, and the amount that the bolt protrudes obviously is adjustable using the two nuts, and they are both exactly the same, which means, weird angles I know, it means that the box section is parallel to the rim. Now using a string line wheel alignment, and you can Google that if you like, the old school string line and axle stands which we used to teach when I was at Unitech, can't really do on these tyres because they've got some big raised sections and all these little lugs down here. These protrude beyond the natural sidewall of the tyre, so it's not really an option to do a string line wheel alignment on this particular vehicle with these tyres. So that box section now, with it being parallel to the rim, if I take you up like that, what we're looking at is the gap between the chassis and the box section, and if we go along, can you see that the gap narrows? Which means at the moment that wheel has got, if it goes to the back of the trailer, that wheel has got a little tiny bit of towing. We know that the chassis rails are parallel because we made it right, you know. So as long as I can get that box section with the adjuster on there parallel to the chassis rail, we will have zero tow. Once I've done one side, I can then go across and do the other side. Looks pretty simple, doesn't it? It took me a while to think of the best way of doing this. Normally you would put the bar on the outside, but of course it leaves a very large gap, and how do you measure it without clamping stuff to the chassis? And I can't clamp anything to the chassis because the paint hasn't yet cured. In actual fact, don't tell Mrs. Mechanic, but a little bit of paint came off earlier on. Look at that. Yes, bad, very bad, Mr. Mechanic. Anyway, we'll ignore that. So basically I need to make an adjustment, and we'll bring that wheel slightly outwards until we've got the box section parallel to the chassis rail. Now of course it requires the use of the magic hammer, so I'm just going to give that a bit of a tap. That basically needs to go forwards, so it needs to go tap tap that way. See how that's looking. Oh, it's definitely getting there. Tappy tap tap. A little bit more. Let's try that. Making sure it's still in contact with the wheel. It is. Man, it doesn't need much. It really doesn't need much at all. Okay, let's go and check that. We shouldn't be too far off. Okay, prepare yourself for some weird angles again. Okay, at the rear, that has closed up significantly. And when I'm looking down it, I'm looking across the edge of that chassis rail. So I think, difficult on camera, isn't it? But I think we're not far off at that. Go back down here again. Now, what I would like to have done was to have clamped. I don't want to do it because I've already taken some paint off. Is to clamp a steel plate or a bit of angle iron, probably a steel plate because not much of a gap, directly down, and then we can actually take a physical measurement between the box and the plate, assuming the plate is dead straight. But I think given a bit of trailer, we can just do it by sight, looking across that, and obviously it's quite a long box section. You can even do it down here, look, you see. So we are pretty much touching, aren't we, at that? I would say you could dangle a little a plumb bob actually off the trailer, bit of string, that would work, wouldn't it? That would give us a bit of an indication. Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll find a bit of string for you. Right, said Fred. Once it's finished twizzling, we'll stick him in there, and we'll just stick a magnet on there to hold it. It should stay put. Once it's settled down a bit, we can take some measurements, I suppose, can't we? Okay, so the rear string line has pretty much settled down, and we can see quite clearly. Put you across like that. The focus is going to be a nightmare. We've probably got about 4 or 5 millimeters gap between the box and the string. Let's go and check the front. Bum, 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 bum. And the front is actually touching, which means we've still got a little bit of toe in. Okay. More adjustment required. A little bit more. Not a lot. We're very close now. We're a lot better than we were before. There you go. You're on the tripod. So we're at the rear. Obviously you can see the coil spring. And there really is about a millimeter's gap between the string and the box section. Let's go and check the front. Now, the front is, I would say it's just to say touching, only just. Still got 0 clearance here and about 1 millimeter clearance at the back, which means it's got a fraction of a toe in. So one more little bit of a tap. So I'll go and do that. You guys watch the string for me. How are we doing? Is there a gap? That didn't make any change at all, did it? Oh, just to say touching. Only just. Right, a bit more. Dum dum dum. I would say that there's a tiny gap. You can see it better than I can from your angle. Okay, let's go and check the rear again. Man, there's probably about 0.5 mil in it, if that. So I'm going to call that job done, and we can get that big nut tightened up. What was the torque setting again? You were going to remind me. Now, hinge bolts, that's what we call those big nuts. 190 Newton meters on the CRS. 190 on all of them, actually. Okay, 190 Newton meters. Okay, let's go find the torque wrench. Now, we've been having a problem with Mr. Ratty again. He likes these big drawers. Obviously the biggest accommodation in the workshop really, other than the workshop itself. So brace yourself, there might be some evidence. Or a rat, in actual fact. Oh, yep, there you go, look. He's been in. They actually look like mouse droppings at those, to be fair. Okay. And he's had a bit of a nibble of the old block. His stomach will be hurting this morning, won't it? Oh, now that's a rat. So maybe we've got both. A colony of two types. Okay, this is the torque wrench that we need. So I'll be sure to wash my hands later on. Jeez. Dum-dum-dum-dum. This one goes up to 350 Newton meters. It's pretty good. Okay, one-handed. Not easy. Okay, let's do this. 190. This is going to be fun. Down's always easier than up. So maybe from the other side. There's definitely less to get in the way. Okay. Here we go. Wait for it. Not there yet. Wow, this is tight. That's why they use such a big nut. Jeez. That is ridiculous. God, there we go. Oh, mind the paint, Mr. Young. Oh dear, I'm marking the paint all over the trailer with my magnetic tripod-y thing, well, magnetically activated camera mount thingamajig that I made from a DTI mount. It's really useful, but it is marking the paint, so Mrs. Mechanic won't be happy because she put a lot of effort into painting that trailer. But in the quest for videos and information for you guys, it's worth it, isn't it, to be fair? So we've done the wheel alignment on one side of the trailer. Now, it was a very simple wheel alignment because I went for zero toe. There's a reason for that. Now, if you want to set an angular toe, i.e. toe in, then you're going to have to do some maths and measure along the chassis a certain distance so that you can then have a distance to measure inboard or outboard of the string line. It's a little bit more complicated. My recommendation, and this is only a personal one, is for trailers, zero toe. But it does depend a little bit on the design of the trailer and that kind of thing. Maybe we'll do a bit more on wheel alignment another day. But for now, that's done. I've just got the other side to do. See you shortly. This side was a little bit different. I had to adjust the length of the bolts on my bar because it was just a little bit tight against the spring. So I've knocked them down to 25mm protruding from the box section to the bolt head, and because of that it wasn't really a very tight fit in there, so I just put a zip tie off the brake backing plate just to hold the whole thing nice and tight against the rim. So actually a better setup. I wish I'd done that on the first side actually, because it would have made it a lot easier. So a little tip for you, something that I've picked up. I'm just using magnets to hold the string, as you can see, and it's nice and flush to the chassis. And I'm just really waiting for the spanners to stop swinging around. Where's my ruler? Hang on, let's take some measurements. Things have calmed down a bit now, haven't they? So obviously we need to use a ruler now for this one because there's a bit more of a gap. And I've got about 18, I would say, about 18mm between the box and the string at the rear. Let's go and check the front. Boom, boom, boom. Looks about similar. Don't want to knock the string, whatever you do, Mr. Young. And probably about 15 at the front. So we've still got a little bit, maybe 16. We've got a little bit of toe in still. So a little bit more adjustment still to go. Not much though. About 17 at both ends. Perfect. I'll get it cracked up nice and tight. 190 Newton meters again. And then that'll be the wheel alignment all done. Right, said Fred. I said it was going to be quick and dirty. It actually turned out to be pretty accurate. I was quite happy with that, given the equipment that I had kicking around. And it's something which I just needed to get done. And I'm very, very pleased that I did do it, because both sides were way out. If I just tightened them up and go, it'd be all right, you know, it probably would have handled really weird. But now we know that those two wheels are parallel to the chassis. There is no toe in, no toe out. They're actually bang on how I want them to be. And it gives me a starting point, if nothing else, to actually make adjustments knowing it's from that position, you know. And all I used was a couple of magnets, very useful, and a couple of bits of string with some spanners on the end as weights. That worked out really well. And just a bit of old box section kicking around, you know, with the holes drilled in it for the bolts, which are the same width as the rim. And I had the bolt heads sitting right on the edge of the rim. I did initially want to put them on the where the bead of the rim is, but it's got quite a concave surface to it, and it was a bit ambiguous. You know, the slightest movement from one side to the other, with it having bolt heads, would change the angle of the box section quite significantly. So if it had been like we use on a proper wheel line machine, actually sort of pins where there's a single point of contact rather than the head of a bolt, then it would have been a lot more accurate. But even so, very happy. For a trailer at least, it's more than adequate, I think. More than, you know, it gives us a result that's accurate enough for that kind of thing, really. It's not a car, is it? It's not going to pull to the left or pull to the right if we're half a degree off. Right, one more thing to do, and that is replace the bolts on the shock absorbers with the ones that have got the thread lock on, and to torque them down. Now, according to Mr. CruiseMaster, the torque setting for those bolts is 50 Newton meters. So let's crack on with that. It's been a funny kind of day today. Lots and lots of stop starting going on. But anyway, we'll get there. And I really need to get the pod covered up with aluminum, wrong bit, need that bit, Mr. Young. Right. So the washers go in with the concave side inwards. That's also very important. Some shocks I have come across on four-wheel drives have those kind of washers going the other way, so they actually fit, you know, like that. It's not correct on the CruiseMaster system. Okay, slap that one in there. Jeez, don't drop it. That'd be pretty rookie mistake on camera, wouldn't it? Okay. 60. Right, I've just set this to low power just to buzz them in. I'll do for that one. Right. Torquey wrench time. Preset to 50 Newton meters. This one had a fair way to go. Right, I think we're there. That's 50. And the top one. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Boom. That's those two done. Boom, 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 boom. That's already loose. And no, that's already loose. Oh, come on, it's getting really worn on the anvil, this thing. Really worn. All my sockets fall off. I need to get a new clip for it, a new springy thing. Right. Okay, I'll stick that one in there. It's really good to know that this is all together now. Really, 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 really good. It's been a mammoth task. That's one. It's only set to low power, so it's not going to achieve the torque. It's not going to over torque them. Okay, you ready? I've got to brace yourself, don't damage the paint. That's that one. Super job. Right, I think we're about there. I mean, I've still got to fit the mud guards, fit the hitch. So you want to join me on that? You can do if you like. Be good actually. So with the mud guards to go on, Mrs. Mechanic's painted all the brackets of the mud guards and the number plate and everything, number plate bracket and things. Number plate bracket will stay off for the Warrant because the number plate will be on the light board. No need to fit it just yet. Obviously I want to fit the hitch. There should be some torque settings for that somewhere. And mud guards, hitch, light board. And it's good to go, right? Okay, where should we start? Mud guards? Let's crack on.
Showing off, don't wanna have to wait tonight. Wait tonight. Better off, I'm gonna find my way tonight. Wait tonight. Won't you talk to me? I wanna heal your sorrows. We'll make a new tomorrow. One night to find the answer. What makes this heart beat faster?
Starting to warm up today. Apologies, the shirt's going to take a two-tone effect again shortly. So I've just fitted in the process of fitting the CruiseMaster DO35. Ooh, Ben's here! Excellent, he can give me a hand shortly. To the drawbar, and it uses M12 bolts, and very quickly the torque setting is 90 Newton meters. So let's go and do that. Holy moly, 90! That one. Always do Katie corner. Here we go. There we go. Nice. One more. Lovely jubbly. Oh, that's not bloody good, is it? Hang on, let me sort the camera out. Ridiculous. Terrible, Mr. Young. Okay, so I did a bit of work off camera because otherwise these videos go on for absolutely ever. But I wanted to involve you in a very, very special moment. And then we'll have a little look at the trailer, okay? So, in with the pack from CruiseMaster. In here, includes an ID plate. Cool. Right, let's have a look. Probably going to fall on the... Oh, hang on. Oh, we've got a sticker as well, look. Right. So we have an official CruiseMaster chassis plate to go on. That is very smart. So we're going to fit that very shortly. And we've got a sticker. I have no idea where the sticker's going to go. It might even go in my toolbox, to be fair. But anyway. So... Oh, it's bent. Look, it's got a little bend in the end. I've got to straighten that out first, haven't I? And then we'll go across and we'll fit this. Pliers, maybe? I don't know. Okay. Can we fix it? Of course we can. Of course we can fix it. We can definitely fix it. Oh yes, there. Oh, you see, nice and straight again. Okay, let's go and decide where this is going to go on the trailer. Okay, I've had a little look around. I think this is probably the best place for it because it's easy to see. Don't want it on top. I mean, you know, because it's almost as wide as the chassis. I think down here would be better, really. Yeah, because it'll be out of the sunshine more as well. It'll last longer. So we'll stick it on there. And I get one chance at this. It's probably not going to be straight, I may. Yeah, I could put a bit of tape on the chassis and level it all up, but you know, we'll just rely on the old ichrometer thing. Holy crap. Right, here we go. Get rid of that. CruiseMaster. Of course, the camera's in the way, so. Nice. I reckon. Oh, jeez. Okay. You're all wincing now, aren't you? Oh, that looks pretty level. Sorry, camera. That looks pretty level to me. It's on fresh, nice, clean paint, so it should last forever. Very nice indeed, Mr. Young. I like that, and it is level. The Warrant guy is going to really like that, isn't he? Bloody good. I think that bit was out of focus. So there you go. It's on. Because I can't take it off and do it again, right? That was a one-shot deal. So there you go. It's done. The sticker, the plate, the official CruiseMaster plate is on the trailer chassis. Nice. Okay, quick scan around the trailer. It's all ready for Warrant of Fitness now on Monday. I'm going to crack on and get some more work done on the pod. So we have got mudguards. They are on a legal requirement here in New Zealand. We've got the temporary light board, which will then donate its lights to the trailer because that saves some money and we don't really need a light board anymore. So all that's done. Brand new number plates. There's only one trailer in the world with that number plate. And this one didn't exist a few weeks ago. What else? Oh yes, the hitch is on. The CruiseMaster hitch is all done. We've tested the wiring. Had to change a bulb. One of the bulbs had blown. So, you're going to have to wish me luck for the Warrant of Fitness in a couple of days' time. Fingers crossed it passes and the guy doesn't find any issues. Like I said, the trailer has got brakes, but we've chosen not to connect them up because it's one less thing that you could potentially fail. The trailer has got a handbrake system, but I've chosen not to fit it to the trailer because it's not a legal requirement, and neither are the brakes because it's too light for that. And all that stuff will get fitted post Warrant of Fitness. Obviously, you know, in 3 years' time, when it needs a warrant, I think it's 3 years on a trailer. I'm sure it is on a new trailer. It is on a new car anyway. I'm sure it's 3 years. When it needs to go for another warrant, then of course, you know, the brakes will have to be up to standard, as will the handbrake, because they'll already be fitted to the vehicle, unless I choose to disable them and take them off. Who knows? We'll wait and see. Okay, crew. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Episode 10. How many more episodes will there be? I reckon probably another 2. if all goes to plan. If you enjoyed the video, why not click on subscribe, click the ring the notification bell. That way YouTube will send you an email or a notification as and when I upload any new videos. That way you won't miss out on any more of the videos on this particular series and the videos of the actual monkey bike adventure from Cape Reinga down to Bluff, 4,000 kilometers. Mrs. Mechanic is riding this tiny little motorcycle down predominantly gravel roads, rivers, beaches, all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff, and the very minimum amount of tarmac that she has to go on to get from A to B, so to speak. You'll also find me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, so you can communicate through any of those portals, or flick me an email, andymechanic@live.co.uk. Now, the important stuff. If you'd like to support the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel and currently the build of this trailer and all the equipment needed to do the adventure ride, then you can do that through the PayPal option. There's a link on the homepage of Andy Mechanic YouTube channel, top right hand side in the banner. I think there's also a link in the description. I'll double check for you. Or if you prefer, you can become a patron and make a monthly donation through Patreon. Or if you want to support the actual adventure ride itself that's been done for the Alzheimer's Trust, it's a charity ride. Mrs. Mechanic's doing it on her own, although I will be in a support vehicle in the background covering all the filming side of it and probably pulling the bike out of a few bogs here and there and helping a bit with the navigation and the intercom system that we have as well. You do that through the Give a Little page, and again it's called Just a Fish, and again there'll be a link in the description. Okay crew, I've got about half done today what I intended to get done. It's going to be another long day for me, so I better crack on. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you all those that have already supported this fantastic cause for Alzheimer's Trust. I really appreciate it. And for those long-term viewers that are always there in the background giving advice and just chipping in, you know, because without you guys there wouldn't be a YouTube channel. Simple as that. It needs viewers, right? Okay crew, see you next time. Cheers, over and out.
And we get the flip up again.
Oh!